In part 1, we made the wings. But the wings were only just the beginning. This is part 2 of my beginner-friendly autumn fairy outfit. And today, we're making the rest of the look. Starting with a twigs headpiece, leaf corset, and a no-sew skirt. Matching fairy shoes. And of course, a wand. And the best part, most of it is super simple, no-sew, and very doable, even if you're not some professional cosplayer. Just like part 1, I'll have the material slide for each section, and I'll link everything I used in the description so you can find it easily. Alright, let's get into it. Let's start with the corset. We're gonna need some artificial leaves, a base corset, ideally matching the color of the look, hot glue gun, and some sewing pins. So first, I bought an absolutely ridiculous amount of leaves from Amazon and had to sort them by color. Then, I grabbed a corset base and started laying the leaves out with pins first, just to test the placement and see how I wanted the colors to flow. I asked you guys to vote on the leaf layout, whether I should do more of a mixed color look or a gradient, and the gradient won, so gradient it is. Once I liked the arrangement, I started gluing the leaves from top to bottom, following the gradient. But I also added a few off colors here and there to break up the perfection and make it look more natural. Because in real leaves, everything isn't perfectly blended. There's always some chaos, and we love a little chaos. A few things I learned while making this. First, glue down the edges of the leaves really well so they lay flat and don't puff up. That makes a huge difference and helps it look way cleaner. Second, be careful around the lacing so you don't accidentally glue over an area that still needs to function. And third, use a corset color that actually matches the leaves. I used beige, which was not the smartest choice. A darker brown or reddish base would have been much easier for me to blend the leaves in. Also, if you're making one of these, I recommend gluing the leaves along the edges first before filling in the rest of the corset. Like here and here. This would make the shape feel a lot cleaner from the start. But overall, once all the leaves were on, it started looking so magical. Next, the skirt. This one is super beginner friendly because it's basically a no-sew skirt using a crochet elastic. We just need tulle and elastic crochet band. I listed the ones I used in my Amazon storefront too. Quick learning moment, if you can, use an elastic that matches the colors of your tutu. Mine was white and that made it a little annoying to blend later. To make the skirt, first figure out how long you want it. My skirt was about 25 inches long, so I cut each piece of tulle to double that, so about 50 inches, because each strip needs to be folded in half. To make the cutting easier, I used the cardboard trick. I cut a piece of cardboard to 25 inches, wrapped the tulle around it over and over, and then cut along just one edge. That gives you a whole stack of even strips without measuring every single one individually, which is amazing because there were a lot of strips. Then I cut the elastic to match my waist size and attached all the tulle using the loop and pull method. I'm gonna try to explain it using a ribbon because that might be easier to see. So we have our piece of tulle. We fold it in half. So now it's a loop. Then we take our elastic, slide the tulle inside. So now we have this. Okay. Then we take these ends and we put them through the loop we did. I layered in different colors, red, orange, yellow, dark brown, and green, because I wanted the skirt to have more depth and feel really autumn. And I especially liked adding the darker browns because it kept the skirt from looking too flat. Once it was assembled, I didn't love the straight edge at the bottom, so I zigzag cut the hem to make it feel more organic and whimsical. Then came the outfit proportions problem. At first, I wore the corset above the tutu, but it made my torso look too long and threw off the proportions of the outfit. So instead, I tucked the corset below the tutu and then blended the waistline using extra leaves so the transition disappeared. That helped the whole look read more like a dress and less like separate costume pieces stacked on top of each other. For the floating leaves around the waist, I used just one small glue dot per leaf, so they had only one point of contact and were less likely to peel when stretched. Then I added even more leaves onto the skirt itself, so the whole outfit blended together better. And under everything, I wore these shorts from Amazon, which, bonus, can hold my phone and cover my butt. So that kind of felt like a win. Now for the shoes. We're basically using the same material. Some leaves, tulle, hot glue, and the shoe shape that you like. I made mine with the same autumn gradient idea as the corset. I started gluing the leaves from back to front with more yellow towards the back and deeper reds towards the tip. So the shoes faded from yellow in the back into oranges and red in the front. Again, same lesson as the corset. Starting with a shoe color that already matches your palette would make everything blend more naturally. For the laces, I used leftover strips of orange and red tulle. And I really liked that because it made the shoes feel softer and more fairy-like instead of just regular flats with leaves stuck on them. Next up, the headpiece. As usual, grab some leaves and hot glue, along with a headband, some artificial or real twigs, a pipberry garland or some tiny flowers would be fun. For the base, I used a plastic headband that I found at Dollar Tree and built out the shape to make it feel like little branches were growing out from my head. I glued everything down onto the headband and covered the base with leaves. This piece was honestly pretty intuitive, just layering and adjusting until it looked balanced. I wanted it to feel like little forest branches growing out of my head, but still pretty and soft. And once the leaves were added, it tied in really nicely with the rest of the look. I used this pipberry garland rope that I found at Dollar Tree and wrapped it around the twigs. If you can't find it there, I linked an Amazon version in the description too. Now, the wand. This might be my favorite part because it looks complicated, but it was actually very scrappy in the best way possible. We're gonna need some skewers or chopsticks, paper tape, aluminum foil, hot glue, a Christmas ornament, and mini LED lights, spray paint, brown, yellow, red acrylics, leftover tulle and leftover leaves, and leftover pipberry. I started by grabbing a bunch of wooden skewers and taping them together with electrical tape to form the base. Then I wrapped everything with aluminum foil to build up the shape and make it look more like a real tree branch. I also used the foil to create some smaller branch pieces sticking out from the side. Once I liked the shape, I wrapped the whole thing in masking tape. And then, for texture, I used my hot glue gun and just went kind of wild, going back and forth in vertical lines to make a bark texture. After that, I spray painted it in a dark brown base, then dry brushed or buffed it with a lighter brown acrylic paint, so all the bark texture would show up better. So the spray paint is this dark base, and I just did a bit of a... grab the sponge or a brush and you can just dab a lighter brown on top and it would just cover those raised edges, so it gives it a bit more dimension. Then I wrapped some of that same pipberry garland rope around the wand too. just to tie it in with the headpiece and make it feel more integrated into the design. For the orb on top, I used a clear plastic ornament and tinted it with diluted acrylic paint to give it that magical orb vibe. Then I decorated around the base with leaves and tulle, so it felt like the orb was blooming out of the branch. And the inside looks like this. Let's see if it shows. I also filled the ornament with a little bit of tulle to diffuse the light, which made the glow feel softer instead of looking like one harsh little point of light. To make it light up, I used one of those paper lantern mini LED lights that you twist to turn on. I glued the top half of the light inside the ornament and the bottom half inside the wand. So when you twist it, the orb lights up. That way you can still remove it and change the batteries, which is honestly very smart. You just need to twist and it lights up, untwist and it stops lighting. If you need to change batteries, you just twist it all the way out and you can change your batteries and then twist it back in. That was it, a chaotic little fairy branch wand. And then came my favorite part, putting the whole look together. I bought this orange wig from Amazon, which I'll also link in the description. And now, let's go do our makeup. For base, I started with moisturizer and foundation. Then I added a white eyeshadow primer and some concealer to give the eye makeup a brighter base. For the eyes, I did a yellow to orange gradient. Yellow in the inner corners and orange on the outer edges to match the outfit. I saw some people on Pinterest doing this super cute blushed nose bridge, and I tried to recreate it. Definitely went a little too hard at first, and then I had to tone it back down. So, you know, trust the process. I also colored my eyebrows to match the wig a little better. I primed them with concealer first, then went over them with eyeshadow. Next, I added white liner on the inside of my eyes, brown liner on the outside, and more white freckles using my white face paint. For lips, I did some orange gold lips using glittery eyeshadow and gloss, and finished everything off with some magnetic eyelashes because I hate glowing lashes on. Then coated them with brown mascara. And finally, I colored the tips of my elf ears so they looked a little more orange and blended better with the makeup. And that was the makeup. Nothing too crazy, just warm, glowy, autumn fairy makeup to tie the whole look together. And here's the final look. Honestly, this is where everything really started to feel like a character came to life. The wings, the corset, the skirt, the headpiece, the shoes, the wand, the wig, the makeup, all of it together finally looked like the autumn fairy I had in my mind. I actually wore this look at the fairy party I hosted in my backyard. And yes, I also made a ton of decor. The full decor tutorials are dropping soon, but if you want a quick sneak peek, check out my shorts or come find me on Instagram and TikTok. You really do not need fancy materials or expert sewing skills to make something special. A lot of this was just experimenting, adjusting, and trusting the process. That's it for part 2 of my fairy outfit. If you make your own version, I would absolutely love to see it. And if you want to make the wings too, I made a separate part 1 video where I show how I made them. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments what costume you want to see next. My cotton candy queen, my hot glue dark queen, or another fairy build with flapping fairy wings. And if you want more behind the scenes and chances to vote on future builds, come follow me on Instagram and TikTok. See you next time! Bye!